Hey, everybody. Welcome to another one of these amazingly beautiful conversations. I am so um, enamored, I guess is the right word, with what goes on in this room because my guest today is not really a stranger, to be totally transparent. She found out about me somehow through a presentation I gave, a small presentation, short presentation for the Aveda graduation group in Dallas. She's not even from Dallas, but she read something in a post and somehow felt the inclination to get in touch. She listened to some of the episodes, and the beautiful thing is that when we hear other strangers speaking, somehow we feel closer to each of the strangers that are speaking. And so somehow over the course of time, we broke some of the rules because we sort of started to get in touch with each other. But we never saw each other or spoke to each other. We've just texted with each other. So I know probably a little bit more about January than I know about February, March, and April, just to play on the other stuff. But than other people who walk into the room. But still, this is the first time I'm seeing her in person. This is in person virtually. This is the first time I'm going to hear her voice in person virtually. And so, really, she's still a stranger to me, even though she's not. Okay? So, with all that said, January Gabriel, welcome to 50 Conversations with 50 Strangers. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my honor, my absolute honor. So, we say, how are you? And we say great, and we say fine, and we go on to the next question, most of us. But there's a lot going on right now in the world, and there's a lot going on even just in the dynamic of energies that are happening even between you and me that we felt. How are you really, with all that? How are you with the Black Lives Matters? How are you with Me Too movement? How are you with a pandemic that keeps you, like how really are you?
Wow. Wow. So I am wonderful. I am so excited about each of these movements because they are definitely long overdue. I don't know if overdue, but been bubbling for so long, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see unknown people elevating and having a voice.
Yeah.
I love the Black Lives Matter movement as a one drop Black person, um, or more than one drop, but I also the Me Too movement is very important to me also, and I really, really am excited to see women rise up and use their voices, and also Black people. And then as far as COVID, or you asked about the pandemic,
Yeah.
I am just going to say that without sounding insensitive, I really enjoy the slowdown, and I really enjoy being able to be home at peace and still more frequently, because I traditionally, if anyone of my friends or someone who has known me for a while, they know I go, 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 go. And um, even though I meditate and do things to keep grounded,
Yeah.
I am traditionally packed schedule. And I love not having a packed schedule anymore because no
Yeah.
one else can do anything.
Yeah.
So it's nice
Yeah.
and
So
wonderful.
in that slowdown, what have you noticed that you haven't noticed before?
Mm. In the slowdown, what have I noticed? I have noticed that, mm, what have I noticed? So many things. Okay, so I've noticed that a lot of people don't like to spend time alone.
Hmm.
Um, I love spending time alone, um, but a lot of people are really challenged with it. And what else have I noticed? Something I want to be more personal.
Yeah.
I've noticed that you don't have to be so fast. You don't have to do things very quickly in order to still achieve a lot. You know, to take a large leap, you don't have to do 50 things. You can actually do 3 things intentionally. It's been very nice to focus.
So let me guide you a little if I can.
Mm.
For a woman who self-admittedly has a packed schedule all the time
Yeah.
and now has acquired it
Formally.
formally,
Yes.
and now doesn't have a packed schedule because there's nothing to pack it with because people are not packing, are not there to be packed. Have you noticed that your packed schedule was a way that you hid something from yourself that you don't, that now you can't hide from and you see?
Somewhat. Um, I think somewhat, and I think that because we live in society, I believe that I was around a lot of people like that
Yeah,
because I don't currently have my own business full time. I was working for other people. So other people were packing my schedule. I wasn't
yeah,
packing my schedule. And I always thought it was funny because many I don't want to like throw anyone under the bus, but many of my um, supervisors, I don't know what to call them, people that were scheduling me, they did not like to be home. They wanted to have activity after activity or whatever,
yeah.
whatever their thing was. And I was just like, okay, I couldn't say no. I felt like I couldn't say no.
Oh.
Um,
So
so
which one is that? I couldn't say no, or I felt like I couldn't
I
say no.
felt like I couldn't say no.
Okay,
I
cool.
felt like I couldn't say no. You can always say no.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
definitely learned that throughout the years. You can always be like, no, bye. But for what I was doing and where I was in my space and my life and my finances and lifestyle, I was like, if I say no, I'm going to ruin it. I'll
yeah,
lose it all.
yeah,
What's wrong with that?
yeah.
But I was too afraid and I thought I can't say no. I have to say yes. And I was unfortunately, taking out my anxiety about refusing to say no, about a fear of saying no on family
Wow,
and friends. They would
wow.
say, hey, can you come watch the kids or can you come over and watch a movie? And I'd be like, when am I going to do that?
Right.
Why do you think I have any free time? I'm on a plane and I'm
Yeah,
going to see this many clients today. And then then that's my only time.
yeah, yeah.
Do you like my voice that I do of
Yeah,
myself? That was a
like
great.
I'm interested because why do you think you changed your voice at that point in time? What was that
Because I
about?
was not at all present because I was angry. It was the fear. That's the fear voice, I guess. I was very much like so mad that I couldn't be there with my family, so mad I couldn't be there with my friends, family especially, and I wanted to, but I couldn't, and I felt like they didn't understand because they're home with their family,
Right,
and
right,
I'm traveling.
yeah.
I don't know, fear.
So drop back a little bit because we're talking about what you do and how busy are. Tell us who you are and what's important to you. Tell us what you do, what's important to you.
Ah. So, okay, those like many questions. Can you
Okay.
say that again?
Yeah. Yeah.
Slower. Okay.
So we jumped right into the pot, but we
Yeah.
don't really have any idea who you are and what's important to you. So who are you and what is important to you?
Who am I? I was just meditating on that. No. I'm January Gabriel. That's my name. Who am I? I am an esthetician. So I'm a skincare expert. And I am well known. Well, I think I'm well known, but I'm not at all. Um, I was working for a very high end luxury brand. I was very fortunate to be aligned with one of the world's best brands. And I would actually travel and train vendors and clients on the brand. And I was the guest esthetician. So I would perform events and I would train staff um, almost nationwide. And it was something I love because I love good skin and I love helping women in particular. There were male clients too, but feel great and comfortable and confident in their skin, especially their face that everyone sees. And so that's who I am.
Okay. And so
That's what I do.
that's what you do. Good.
Yes.
So, and I love that we know now what you do. So,
Yes.
are you what you do, or who are you?
Oh, well, I mean, who am I? So many things. Uh, really?
Of the things that are really important to you, what is the most important? Like when you think
Uh,
about who you are and all the ways you can answer that, we understood now you're an esthetician and you travel and you train. Um, what else would you like people to know about you?
and I'm currently an educator. I should have said what I'm currently doing. So I'm an educator for future estheticians. Um, and the next part is what's most important to me. What is most important to me? I would say, I guess my values, which are, acceptance, like wisdom and practicing knowledge, practicing love. Love is very important to me. Yeah, security, um, joy, faith.
Yeah,
There are many, awareness, pure.
love
Yeah.
that. What makes you happy?
What makes me happy? Waking up in the morning. I don't know that anything makes me happy. I am happy to be, yeah. I think it's more joy, like in something inside of me, because I have this conversation actually a lot lately with um, colleagues that, it's up to me. I can definitely sit here and complain and look at the downside. Um, but I also can look up and look at the great, I have a different perspective. And so I think that I'm able to shift that, what makes me happy. So I think everything, even difficult things, I've learned to appreciate and say, oh, if I didn't experience that, I couldn't connect with this other woman. I couldn't connect with this guest or client or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I love that. So for people who are listening right now, I just want you to listen to what January is saying. And I want you to get involved in the conversation with yourself at this point. Like, do you have things that make you happy? Or are you free enough to just know how to be happy and things don't have to make you happy? You are happy. Because that's what I hear January saying, that it isn't outer circumstances that are bringing her happiness, although, we get happy when certain things happen, of course.
Yeah, I
But
love getting gifts.
yeah. Okay, so for everybody listening, we're going to have her information, send her gifts, because that's going to make her happy. Um, but there is something inside of her that she seems like she's talking about. And for people who don't know how to touch that, how do you touch that?
Hmm. It's been a lot of stillness. Um, I I think that for me,
Pause for
it's
a minute, if you don't mind.
okay. Yes.
Did you just feel a shift of energy right there? Okay. Did other people feel it? I hope you, as you listened to it, because there was a nervousness that just dissolved when she went into the place where she feels happy. And she was talking about it, and she wasn't just worried about what you would say, but she was experiencing it. And I hope that you and listeners can feel that. Can you feel that? And just notice in your own life, where does that shift happen for you? Where does that happen where you go from speaking about it nervously to just feeling it and being there? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
It's okay. That was cool. um, so yeah, so I think it's been a practice for a very long time, and I am old enough or mature enough or more aware, I would say, actually, just more aware that it is that stillness and being able to sit with it, sit with whatever it is, and recognize there's so much, there's like, I don't know, this is all happening. You hear that corny, like, this is happening for you, not
Yeah,
to you,
yeah,
you know? And that's true. It's cheesy and challenging as that can sound sometimes. It's definitely true.
yeah. When I first heard that, I was with Tony Robbins, and I was at a big conference, and he said it, and it was like a whoa, what did that, wow, like what would that do to my consciousness if I could see things are happening for me rather than to
Yeah.
me? It was just like this amazingly beautiful moment where, whoa, anyway.
I felt the same way when I first heard it, and then rejected it, and then accepted it and
Yeah.
did that whole thing. Yeah.
So, and you don't have to answer, but just because it's interesting, why, when you heard it that way and felt that strongly about it, did you then reject it and then accept it and reject it and accept it? What in you? Because I'm sure there are people that are listening that do exactly that same thing.
I love that you asked that question. Um, so why did I reject it? Because here's the thing, what I do, I don't know what you do, but what I do or have done is I have this expectation. I'm like, I am supposed to be making this much money, with this person. I definitely used to have this checklist. And so when I am very like goal oriented as well. So if I didn't achieve a goal, I would be so sad, and like doom, even though I was still breathing and, the room was still, nothing changed.
Yeah.
I would beat myself up and be really frustrated and disappointed and all of this. So to hear this is not happening to you, it's happening for you, I could no longer be this victim of not achieving. Why did? Because it's hard to admit that I didn't. Oh, well, ego, I guess, is a easier, shorter story answer, because it's easy to say like, I'm supposed to be on this train.
Right.
I'm supposed to be on this train right now, and maybe you missed the train so that you could help the lady whose bag, everything fell out of her bag,
Yeah.
and she needed you right then,
Yeah.
things like that. So, or just maybe you just missed the train because you needed to sit still for an hour because there are another trains coming, you know?
Yeah.
So I started to learn to recognize, like, for me, oh, this is another story that comes to mind is
Please.
when I was a little girl. So I have a twin sister, and so the two of us used to run around and always together. And one of our babysitters had it was a really old house, scary old house with creaky, weird, uneven steps. And we'd run up and down the steps. And one day I fell and I rolled down the steps. And I was probably like 4. But at the bottom of the steps, I was so mad at myself for falling. And I was crying and wanting attention, wanting someone to like scoop me up, and I don't know. But I was like, see what you made me do. I blamed my sister. See what you made me do. You made me fall down the steps. And the babysitter, who was my cousin, came over and she was like laughing at me and she's like, who made you? Who made you fall down the steps? And I vividly remember that because in my head I was like, yeah, who made me? It's not her. Oh.
Right.
And it was like a moment, some amazing moment for me to be like, stop
Yeah.
blaming Alpha, blaming my sister. It wasn't her fault. Yeah.
So
I hope I answered your question. I'm sorry.
I'm going to ask it again because you probably did, but maybe I just didn't get it. Is there a tendency in you, like there probably is in a lot of people listening, to know that something is good for you and then just push it away and then come back to it and say, like, because like when you hear that, you heard this is for me, and I thought, wow, this is mind blowing, and then you rejected it, and then you accepted it, then you rejected it. Is that something that you do in life? Do you
Uh,
do you get a present, accept it, reject it, accept it, reject it, or has that just happened in this one? I don't want to make it bigger than it is.
it's definitely many. Yeah, my brain is probably overanalyzing it. Many, I would say it's present me. It's so much easier because I'm very accepting of what's going on, and it definitely helps me in the classroom where I'm teaching. But even traveling, but an older version of me for sure was no. I'm supposed to have, you know,
So I love that.
I couldn't let go of the expectation.
Let me jump in. I love that. Can you dive into that moment where that point of view changed? Because I'm sure, again, people that are listening, listeners, you listen and hear and answer these for yourselves. Is there a moment in time where you used to be more accept, reject, maybe even control, um, versus receive? And
Yes.
can you identify what that moment was for you in that moment that allowed you to say, I'm not going to be the old January anymore. It's a new
Well,
year. I'm going to be a new January.
yeah. I started to journal more and pay attention to my emotions. And I realized because I don't consider myself a sad person, and I don't want to be a sad person. I want to be positive and all of these things. But because I was not letting go, because I was holding on to my goal or expectation is more of it, because it's not really a goal. It's really this expectation of what I'm supposed to have or
What you
what God
should,
is supposed to give me.
right?
um,
Ouch.
by now, I realized I'm spending every night yelling at God. I'm spending every night crying because I don't have this, and it's not getting me it. It's actually making everything worse. I think I recognized I'm sad, and I'm always sad now. Kind of build up. It was
Yeah.
probably subtle, more subtle than it sounds, but I noticed it. I noticed, oh, and also people would say things to me like, you're great. And I would be like, no, I'm not. I don't have
Yeah.
a car. Something, I don't have this car. And they would be like, that's okay.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't hear them. And then finally I heard someone said it to me, and they probably said it to me 100 times. I was like, he keeps saying this. Gotta listen. Maybe I should listen to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just shifted when I started listening also to myself, that I was becoming uh, victim. I was becoming sad, and I was not able to be the present person that I wanted to present as,
Yeah.
and all of that. So, yeah.
Well, clearly, what you're saying is not individual. There's so many of us that feel that, so much so that Buddha said the reason for all suffering is wanting something that we don't have, and the reason for all joy is being content with what we have. And that's like a worldwide teacher who is pretty much addressing the same exact point. So again, for people who are listening, where is your contentment level and where is your sadness? What do you think you quote unquote should have, should be, should do, should feel versus what do you feel and how okay are you with where you are right now? Great answers. Great conversation. Thank you for being so open. Um, if money weren't important to you, what would you do? If you had all the money in the world, what would you do?
Uh, wow, I should think about that more.
Okay.
If I had money, all the money in the world, I would uh, end homelessness. I
Oh,
would have universal childcare, healthcare. I would ensure that people are, taken care of. Uh, I actually, I really don't understand so many billionaire mentality. Why they wouldn't just give $1 billion if they have $300 billion. Give $1 billion to help many, 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 many more people. I don't understand, but that's what I would do. Or employ people, help to people to elevate. Help people to rise up.
I
That's what I
I
would do.
I love that because it's the first time anybody's ever answered the question that way. Because most people say what I would do is I would be an artist or I would do something else, but
I would travel the world.
you went into how you would use it to help humankind, which is really beautiful. I suck at lightning rounds, but we're going to try it. Okay, the first ones are pretty easy.
I suck at them too. I lose against
Okay,
my students.
okay, good. So we're not committed to it. The first ones are going to be pretty easy, but then we'll see what happens after that. Are you a dog person or a cat person?
Dog.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
If I'm at home, tea, because I don't make coffee well for myself, but I like both.
Okay. Would you say you are conservative or liberal?
Can I say progressive?
Yeah, what does that mean?
It means I'm evolving and constantly moving forward and hopeful for people, actions for people. Progressives are people like, are you talking about politics? Yes.
I can be, but I'm also talking about the way you dress, the way your friends are, the way
Oh yeah,
the way you think.
progressive.
Progressive. Okay. I like
I
that.
have my own individual. I actually won best dressed in high school, which like
Wow.
was a day maker for me because
Wow.
they were like, I was like, I don't dress like everyone else because I went to a really rich school and they all wore like Gucci and Louis Vuitton in high school, and I was like picking out thrift store clothes. I don't know what I was
Yeah.
doing, but I dressed my own style,
I bet you got best dressed.
and I got best dressed,
Fabulous.
tied with another rich person, but I still got it.
Okay, cool. Are you shy or outgoing?
Funny that I remember that.
Yeah,
I am outgoing.
outgoing.
Yes.
And have you felt like you've always fit into the world, or do you feel like you're a little bit different?
Have I always? Always is such a
Okay, do you feel like you fit into the world? Let's take always out. Do you feel like you fit in, or do you feel like you're a little different?
uh, I am unique and special, just like everyone else.
Okay. So, so does that mean you fit in, or do you want to answer like someone in the room came in and she said, "Oh God, yeah, I fit into the world, but it's a world of misfits. So I fit into
Right.
a world of misfits." That's how
I,
you
I
feel.
feel like that. I also feel like I love Jesus. I believe in God, and I believe that He doesn't make mistakes, and He placed me. I'm here because I fit in, because I'm
Yeah.
needed here. So I will say fit in, but to
So
what?
do you sometimes feel that your love of Jesus makes people not have allow you to fit in? No.
I don't feel that.
Good. I love that. Um, do you feel like you're a giver or a receiver?
I giver. I don't know. giver or receiver. This lightning round is so could be either. It's such a toss up.
Okay. So talk to me about that. What does that mean? It could be a toss up. That everything that what does that mean for you?
Well, sometimes one and sometimes the other. It depends on where.
So
Where.
if you were putting percentages on it, would you say you are 70% giver, 30% receiver, 62%
I would have to
receiver?
say I'm more of a giver. I definitely am a giver. I
Okay.
love when I see. Excuse me. I love seeing people and bringing gifts. I definitely always bring something when I go to visit a friend. Some if when I, it's not an emergency or even if it is, usually I'm bringing something, even if it's a prayer. But I always bring gifts. So I would say I'll stick with giver.
Okay.
I was
Good.
overthinking. Sorry.
Okay. That's all right. Um, so sometimes I find with givers, which is really interesting, that they give so much, but they have a little bit of a difficulty receiving. But you said you love receiving gifts in the beginning. Are, do you have difficulty sometimes receiving gifts?
You're a good listener.
Yes.
I do. I will confess that yes, I have had difficulty receiving gifts, but I think I've identified as my love language receiving gifts because it reminds me of my childhood, and I had a really busy mother, and the only time I felt that I knew she loved me was she'd come home with a gift.
Wow.
So, and it would make me feel like she had thought of me today. So I love it. I think when I receive a gift, some of me feels that. Yeah. But otherwise, I do have, it depends on the situation, but most of the time, yeah. I'll be like, no, you don't have to do that. Yeah, rejecting, which I've learned only recently in this season or new year. Actually, because it happened to me, because I brought a gift to someone and they like rejected it. And
Huh.
that was not graceful. To me, I thought, why? I really want you to have this. There's
Yeah.
no agenda with me giving you this gift. So I got to experience, well, I guess, what I had been doing unknowingly. And I
Wow.
thought, I don't want to make someone feel that way. So I want to learn to receive as graciously as I enjoy, giving.
Beautiful. Do you speak more than you listen, or do you listen more than you speak?
I listen more than I speak.
Fabulous. Would you say you live in your head more or in your heart?
This is a transitioning time. You are meeting me more heart, but you see, I'm also often in my head. I think for most of my life, it's been head, and I recently shifted that, and because I realized I can't believe everything that is up in my head is actually not true. But when it comes to my heart, well, I guess you can say the same for the heart. But for my heart, it's more true. Like it's more trusting, whereas in my head it's like it's, it's all of this different energy. So I'm more heart-centered now. Let me get, this is supposed to be lightning and I'm taking forever.
No, it's beautiful. I love that you're doing that. And you're also anticipating questions because you said something about trust.
Oh,
And so
that's
is,
a hard thing.
is trust is trust easy for you to do or is it hard for you to do? Do
Mm,
you trust easily or do you, is
no,
that a, no? Yeah.
no, definitely no. I mean, you know, I would say certain sometimes you meet someone really special and there's this, but that's again from trusting my heart and my body, learning, accepting that awareness of that over the years. But generally speaking, no.
I want to dive into that a little. Okay. Yeah. You caught me. Um,
I need to do that too.
Okay.
Deeper.
Um, do you think it's that you meet someone special who then does something that you can then trust? Or do you think that you, in seeing something in someone who's probably just ordinary like everybody else, but you see something special in them and it allows you to open up and trust more?
What?
What? In other words, so there's a common sort of rule that we give credit to somebody for being able to have qualities that allow us to feel better or open up or trust them more or give them more. What I want to invite you to consider is it has nothing to do with them. It just has something to do with how you feel when you're with them and what that awakens in you, like that perspective that you were talking about earlier, where you just
Right.
no longer wanted to be sad, you just wanted to be happy. There's a perspective shift, and in seeing that, it really has nothing to do with them. It has to do with a shift that happened in you because you felt something could have been in them, but it may or may not be. In other words, do you believe that people have the effect of changing us, or do you believe we change ourselves?
I don't believe we change ourselves. I believe that we change ourselves. I believe, yeah, as you're diving deeper, I see
I
that.
still have a
Yeah.
snorkel. I don't have scuba gear on. So
Oh, well, even just that little difference, I see. Yeah, it's. I think in my head, again, I guess I was going back to head instead of heart. Uh, my head is saying you've got to earn trust,
yeah,
and I even am making a goofy voice as I say that because I know that that's some story that been told, and I chose to believe uh, over the years. Um, but yeah,
do you feel
I
like
think
do you feel like you have to earn your own trust?
there you go. So yes and no. Yes, I know that as you
That
asked
wasn't
the
a
question,
multiple choice answer. That was no.
maybe no. um, I think I think that I've learned. I don't know how to answer this question. Actually,
Okay.
that's telling right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm working on trusting
Yeah.
all of this. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for those of you who are listening, like don't disengage. We're asking these questions to January, and she's sort of here figuring out answers. But really, we're asking these questions to you.
Yeah.
And how are you? Do you feel like, and I'm going to tell you honestly, okay, because I'm going to say something. People sometimes attribute certain things to me that I don't know that are mine to be attributed to. They feel comfortable with me. They feel relaxed. They feel safe with me. And so they open up, but it isn't really anything to do with me. It's that they opened up because they perceive me to be someone they can trust. And but it's really them doing all the beautiful work. It's the same thing that happens in this room. People come into this room, and when they feel loved and accepted, listened to and heard, acknowledged and validated, all that they aren't falls off, and all they're left with is seen as who they are. But it's not because anything, I mean, I hold the space. I acknowledge that. But, but it's you doing all the work. Does that make sense to you?
Very much. A lot of people I've experienced that in my journey as people share things with me and I'm like, I've known you for 5 minutes. I don't say that, but I'm
Yeah,
thinking that, you know? So um that's interesting. And it's good because I recognize I do the same thing.
yeah,
Let's say I went to meet someone I've never met before and they're going to give me a massage.
yeah,
Why all of a sudden is it safe for me to be like, you know, fall back and lay there when I don't know this person. So I think it's, yeah, a matter of perspective and openness and what's going on inside of me. So what was your question again? It's hard to trust people. It's hard to trust me.
yeah. So, I mean, but that's beautiful. Like, look at the difference of what that makes. If we, and for those people who are listening, again, just continue to get engaged. Who is it that we have a hard time trusting? Because when we hold the space for other people to trust us, or when we hold the space that those coming into our space will be trusted, sometimes they step up to be that way, even if they can't be that way on their own, right?
Yeah.
Do you believe we're more similar than we are different, or more different than we are similar?
Similar, more similar than we are different. I believe that.
And so I'm super interested in this because in the data that I'm doing and collecting the answers to these questions and sort of compiling it and figuring out how people think, and you you are in the mass majority of people who honestly think that we are way more similar than we are different. And I believe that too, by the way. And yet, all I do when I turn on the news, that isn't the news that I see in the world. When I look at the world outside, if I look person to person, like what happens in this room, we are instantly more similar than we are. If I even think about my interaction with you, we're instantly more similar than we are. We have no reason to feel that similarity, but we're instantly more similar with each other than we are, right?
Yes.
And yet, the world at large seems to have a holiday finding the differences between us and seems to sit on the differences between us. Do you find that to be true?
Yes, and there are reasons. That's a tribal belonging, uh, you know, unreal. It's not. It's an untruth, unfortunately, but a lot of people subscribe. A lot of people have so much pain, and so they're separating. When I was younger and in pain or whatever, it was easier for me to blame my sister,
Yeah.
you know, and not look at myself and say, oh, that hurt me. I didn't like getting poked with the scissors, whatever.
Yeah.
Instead, my flaws would project and say it's her fault. So I can see that
And
tribal belonging thing.
what a gorgeous example that is, because here's a twin sister. Is she look like you? Is she fraternal or so? It's okay, different looking.
She's fraternal. We look very different.
Okay.
What a blessing to have a fraternal
Yeah.
twin sister. Yeah.
Yeah. And yet here's someone who is your twin, and there's still the like my brother who's very close to me. We have tons of finding differences with each other. It's so interesting to see the world that we live in. Um,
Hmm.
what comfort do you feel finding differences gives us?
What comfort does finding differences give us to make us feel unique, like super special? And this is another, romanticizing and what our society, I think, often does is like, you're looking for the one. I'm the one. But that's not, if that was true, then if I get the wrong one, then everyone else is screwed,
Yeah.
So it's this thing of special. It's like having your mother gaze at you, like, look at me, I'm special.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is it. Like a tribal. I don't know why I keep calling it a tribal thing, but I think it's like a tribal thing
Yeah, because
for people.
I think we look for like-minded people to be part of our tribe. And
Yes.
and I
And
remember,
someone to war against.
yeah,
Like a triangling also, oh, she has 2 feathers
yeah, yeah, 100%.
and I have 8,
Yeah.
this thing.
And yet
Yeah.
I remember when I first found my like-minded community, I felt like I died and went to heaven, because I
Yeah.
felt like, wow, there are other people that are crazy like me and believe like me and have these same points of view.
Right.
And yet now what's happening for me is I believe those silos of like-mindedness are the reason why we're in so much pain and sorrow, because the silos are getting bigger and stronger, and
Mhm.
the distances between those silos is getting wider and deeper. And so we have very few people walking unsiloed because everybody wants to have a voice that's heard and stand in a group of people, even though their voice isn't exactly our voice. We say they represent our voice close enough, so we'll go in with that voice. But we feel a little bit disconnected from the tribe that we're in, but we feel safe against the other tribes that may come at us. Um, but it's time for those silos to fall down and for us to just realize we're part of one world together, one nation, one people, one race
Love.
that, that has, yeah,
One love.
one
One
love.
God. Yes. Yeah.
Both of these are
Mm.
both of these are important, but I'd like to know what's most important for you now. Is it most important for you to have a place where you can stand up and speak and have your voice and be heard? Super important from people. Or is it more important for you to hold the space to listen so that other people's voices can be heard?
Right now, it would be to be heard, just where I am right now.
Yeah. And so imagine now you have that space. What is it you would like to say?
Where's my crown? I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
You left it on your Facebook page.
That's right.
Um,
Yes.
what would you say now to the people that are listening because they're listening to you?
I would say to get comfortable being still, being quiet. Get comfortable in the quiet silence. It's okay. I would say everything will be okay.
Okay.
So many of us have a hard time with unknown, but we came into the world not knowing, like what we were getting into. So it's okay to continue and help others instead of, you know, reacting. It's okay to just be and keep growing and evolving. Yeah.
So let me
I
just
wish I
re.
had a better sentence.
Well, no, that's a good sentence, but I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you on it a little more.
Okay.
So in this moment right now, you told me that it's important for you to be able to stand up and be able to say what's on your mind and have a voice.
Yes.
I want to ask you to go underneath what you just said, because what you said is really beautiful. But I have a feeling there's something underneath that that really wants to come out and be said. Is there? And you don't have to find it from me. I might be wrong. But what is it that you have been yearning to say that nobody's listening to, or that you've never had someone listen to? Because I'm right here, right now. And if no one else is listening to you, I am.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. It's bringing up a lot of things, but there's not one specific thing. I have so
Tell me
many
what it's
things, but
tell me what it's bringing up.
mostly, just like love. I love you. I'm happy. I'm safe, and uh, things that I think that so much for me. I have this body and I'm a woman and I look a certain way and I'm whatever. I do beauty work and I'm in this industry. And so this image is to be pretty and quiet and not talk. So
Wow.
it's really important to me to speak now, to say, I do have a voice and I do have an opinion, thoughts beyond what lipstick color is that?
Yeah.
So I think what is coming up for me, like I said, is this more, there's more than just the body. And I believe that a lot of people feel that way because back to your point about silos,
Yeah.
people dressing this style to fit in with this group, to have these conversations. Are you happy there? Like, is that you? Is that all? There's more. So for me, it's important to share that there's more. And I have been a group hopper. I have been in a very religious groups. I have been in non-religious groups. I have been in the beauty, popular group, the poor group, the rich, all these groups. And every group, many are scared to say what they really feel because they don't want to get kicked out of the group, or they don't want, it's not even, maybe they don't want to get kicked out of the group, but they don't want to deal with the other people. There's, all that. So it's important to actually speak up and share your thoughts. I think that's what's so great about even social media is people are voicing. It's not always healthy, but it's good to get it out and actually share your truth and allow permission for others to also do the same. And so my message is just that, like, it's okay, and you have a voice. It's okay to express yourself. Yes.
So can I say what I hear? And just,
Yes.
you don't have to, it doesn't mean what I hear is correct.
Okay.
So I'm lobbing it over the net to see if there's any truth in it. What I hear you saying with your voice is see me, but really see me.
Mm.
You see the attractive me. You see the stylish me. You see the pretty me. What I want you to see is what's inside that. I want you to see the depth of me. I want you to see the heart of me. I want you to see what makes me happy and what makes me sad. I want you to see what makes me feel loved and doesn't feel loved. I want you to really see me. And it's fine that you look at me and see somebody who's beautiful and feel happy with being beautiful. But don't stop there.
Very good listener.
So, does that sound true to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Essentially, yes. That is all that I said in about 8 minutes now.
Okay. And that's a huge message, by the way. And it takes someone who's attractive to deliver that message.
Oh.
Because someone that's not attractive can't deliver that message, or they can, but it would be delivered a different way. It would be, I want you to really see me. Don't be put off by what I look like. Don't be put off by the fact that I am not attractive. I want you to take the time to get to know me and see me and feel me.
Well, yes, and also, right, the perceptions, yes, very different.
Yeah.
People, personality, you have a great personality, so I'm going to talk to you.
Yeah.
You don't have, external, I don't know, it's this whole, yeah.
But I bet
We
there are
could
a ton
talk
of
longer
women,
about that.
but I bet there are a ton of women who feel scared because they're so attractive and that they won't be seen for who they actually are. I know that I've had the good fortune to be with some of the richest people in the world, to sit at their dining room tables, to call them my friends, to play with their kids on the floor. They have the same problem. They don't feel anybody sees them because all they see is their money. I've had the beautiful opportunity to sit on street corners with the poorest of the poor. They don't feel anybody sees them because all they have is a cardboard box. So this idea of being seen beyond what we present is a huge platform. And if I can lob one more thing over the net,
Please do.
I believe that would be a platform for you worth developing. That when your days in the skincare business continue or don't, that creating a platform for yourself where you can speak about what do we really see when we look at somebody would be a really beautiful platform to get out there for people to see. It may not be original, but it doesn't mean it's, most of the world is still plagued by it.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, your thoughts?
I think a lot, and so much is also coming to me as you're speaking.
Tell me.
This, um, that there are many young women and men, young men too, but who think are buying into this like cultural thing that we do, and instead of developing their brains and their education, they're looking like Kim Kardashian,
Yeah.
you know, doing a
Yeah.
pose and freezing and cutting off growth for themselves for whatever period because they want to fit in to this box and this image because it looks like what you're supposed to do. Again, that expectation.
Yeah.
But as you get older, I don't know, just anyone, as you grow, you want to continue growing. I mean, I always say that if you're not growing, then you're dead.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, be alive. Yeah.
And more than even you saying it, what I want people to witness as they listen to this and maybe listen to it again is how that's happened even in the course of this conversation. And have you seen the change that's happened in this room from when we first started and where we are now? And how that I told you I've been with the richest people in the world and the poorest people. And one of the things that I found that all of them shared in common, it didn't matter what border they were behind, it didn't matter what color their skin, it didn't matter how much money they had, how big their house or how torn their cardboard box. They all wanted the same three things. They wanted to be loved and accepted. They wanted to be listened to and heard. They wanted to be acknowledged and validated. All of us want that. And when we can give that to each other, suddenly that's what happens in this room. What we're not falls off, and what we are is all that remains, because we no longer have to protect ourselves because we feel safe. And in that safety, we feel whole. We feel we can do anything. Do you think things, like I know you are able to listen to people and hear people. Do you think other things speak to us? Do you think inanimate objects speak to us? Do you think the world speaks to us? Do you think our body speaks to us? Do you think our workplace speaks to us? Do you think our environment speaks to us?
Yes.
What
Yes, I do.
What do you think our world's trying to say to us right now?
Oh, same thing, right? See me, you know. This is very, very serious about all of the, what do you call that, fracking and pipelines and killing resources. Oh, it's so sad. And the earth is like, I don't want to sound really hokey, and I definitely don't know enough about it, but I have elders in my family who are very adamant and really into agriculture, and they are very passionate about that. And I can see it. Like, I like to go for walks outside, and I can see things like, you know, a deer will walk up to me. That's so bizarre.
Right.
Or like grasshoppers hopping all around. I love seeing stuff like that and noticing it and just being still there and letting the grass grow and do and move and do its thing without cutting it down, or exploiting it. It's the same thing. See me, like, respect me.
So I love that you see that, because it really reinforces again in me the message that I wanted to give to you, which is how big a platform See Me is. Because it's not
Mm-hmm.
only an individual, it's not only a woman, it's an earth issue, it's a employee issue in a company, it goes everywhere. And
Yeah.
See Me is not that far away from Listen to Me, which is what my message is.
Mm.
Right? So they can walk hand in hand,
Good.
right?
So
Um,
good.
if you had, you shared a lot, and I thank you for all your time.
Thank you.
If you had to boil down everything you wanted to say into one final statement, here's your moment. What would you say to people that are listening?
Oh, yeah. Be your best. I need to think about that. I like have to plan that out a little bit more. I would say just thank you, be appreciative and grateful for what you have now. I love what you said earlier while you were speaking about contentment. You know, what came to mind for me is I think Philippians, where Paul is saying, be content in all circumstance, in all things. Learn to be content. I've learned to be content in all things. I can have no food. I can have a lot of food. I can have nothing in the bank, and still I'm breathing. I'm so thankful. I'm walking, you know, be content with, be content
Yeah,
what you have.
love that. I want to
Thank
thank
you.
you. Um, I want to
Thank
also
you.
share with people that this podcast is sponsored by the Mosaic, and the Mosaic, I would be reminiscent of, not reminiscent, I would be not doing my duty if I didn't mention our sponsor, because really, if you want to read a book that talks about a lot of what we're talking about, I would highly recommend you get that book, because it's about the way we see the world. And what happens is it's a story about a boy who loses his parents 2 years apart on the same day. And when he asks the adults where his parents are, they tell him they're in a place called heaven. So he sets out in search of the place called heaven. And the people he meets along the way are not the people he expects to meet. They're not the clergymen and the rabbis and the ministers and the priests, and they're not the shamans and the holy women and men. They are the trash man and the blind woman and the homeless guy. And there she's holding it up. Thank you. Thank you so much for getting that. um, they're common, ordinary people. And what happens is when he sits and listens to them, he realizes the person he initially saw at first isn't at all who they actually are. And this whole idea that January so beautifully allowed me to paraphrase for her of see me and don't see what I look like on the outside is really what the book is all about. So if you would like to change your perspective, she's saying it's also about hear me too. If you would like me also to hear, if you would like a book that will help you take a look at your perspective and change your perspective, I can't recommend it enough to you. And that's enough because I just fulfilled the obligation of our sponsor and shared it with you. Um,
Well
January,
done.
January, I want to thank you for getting the book. I want to thank you for also being here. I want to thank you for the
Thank
way
you.
you've shown up in my life also, a big surprise and a beautiful surprise. For those
Same.
of you who listen to the show, there are very basic things that happen in life. When we like something, we share it with people that we like. So if you like this show, share it with people you like. Give them
Oh,
the opportunity to like it too. If you like this segment, share it with people you like. If you like other segments, share it with people you like. If you don't like it, tell people not to listen to it. Like whatever you believe is fine. I'm not trying to tell you to do anything. But one of the things that I see happen is people come in as strangers and they go out as friends. And I'd like to invite you to a challenge. And my challenge is that you find someone you don't know, either online or in person, and you just sit down with them and have a conversation and just ask them how they're doing. You don't have to fix them. You don't have to help them. You don't have to change them. You don't have to correct them. You don't have to guide them. You don't have to lead them. You don't have to change them at all. All you just do is listen to them and see them. And when that happens, it changes the world we live in, because the way we respond to a world that's full of strangers is a different way than the way we respond to a world that's full of friends. How long did it take? Well, this conversation you can't go because we've had some conversations before. But in most of these conversations in this room, we've walked in as complete strangers and left as beautiful friends. And so, with that in mind,
So funny.
what are you laughing at?
You're like, how long did it take? That was funny.
Yeah,
It took me a moment to get it, but I was
yeah,
like, oh yeah,
yeah, it doesn't take long.
no.
So the beautiful thing is that we can do that for each other.
Mm-hmm.
We can listen to each other and hear each other. We can love each other and accept each other, and we can acknowledge and validate each other.
Mm-hmm.
So until the next conversation, before we leave, is there one last thing you want to say?
Is there? I'm just so thankful for you. Thank you so much for this platform and this opportunity, and for listening and for seeing me. Thank you.
It's my absolute honor. You're easy to see and hear, which is true for everybody else too, by the way. But you're easy
Unique
to
and
see.
special, like everyone.
Yeah.
But you're intentional about it, and I appreciate the intention. Yes.
Thank you so
Thank
much. Thank you. Okay, again, thank you for coming, everybody, all strangers that are listening. If you like what you see in January, get in touch with her, and we're going to get. How can people get in touch with you? You're going to send me all your
you.
links and
Yes.
stuff.
JanuaryGabriel.com.
JanuaryGabriel.com. So we'll have all that in the show notes, so you know how to spell it and all that. And until next time, don't be strangers. Okay, ciao.
Bye bye.